Good evening, or good afternoon if you happen to be on the West Coast. I am Natalie Hahn with Dirty Girls Consulting, and I am thrilled to have you joining me tonight to talk about power. Why are we talking about power? One of the reasons we're talking about power is because I look at power the same way I look at words like ambition, which is they're considered a little bit of a dirty word, especially as it's applied to women, and I don't think it should be. In fact, I think we need to own it more. We don't have these negative connotations when we talk about powerful men or ambitious men. But when we start talking about powerful women and ambitious women, it tends to have a little bit of a negative vibe to it. And I think it's time we owned it. I think it's time we owned it, and I think it's time we turned it into a less negative vibe. Now, there are reasons why it has that negative vibe, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But one of the reasons I was most interested in talking to you guys about power tonight is because it's probably the number one reason women come to me and say, I could really use your help. Because the phrase, boy, I could really use your help, is usually followed by some variation of, I'm just stuck, or I feel stuck, or I think I'm stuck. But that word comes up a lot. So I don't know if that's you guys. If it is, say hello in the chat, by the way. I'd love to know who's here tonight, where you're from. I myself am in scenic central Massachusetts in the lovely town of Worcester. And maybe it's not a power center, but for me, it is. So I want to talk about power, and I want to talk about this concept of being stuck, because what I found is that 95% of our stuckness is actually because we are not tapping into our power, into our full potential and our full power as leaders, as women, and just as people who own our lives. So I want to help us get unstuck, and I want to start that by talking about the 4 types of power that are actually at our fingertips that we can leverage right now, like as soon as we're done with this training, to start making some significant changes in how you show up and how you use your power to actually change and shift things in your life, especially if you're feeling stuck. And it doesn't matter what the stuck is around. It can be around your career, it can be around something in your personal life. This power applies regardless. So, what is power? I did what every English major geek does, and I looked it up in Webster's dictionary. And power, there were 2 definitions that apply to us tonight. One is the ability, I'm going to read my note, the ability to do something or act in a particular way, especially a faculty or a quality, and the capacity or ability to direct or influence other people or courses of events. So what that comes down to is power is a way of doing, of being, and of thinking. It's really that simple. And hello, everybody. It's good. I'm glad you're saying hello. It's nice to see you. Hey, Sloan. I'm glad you're here tonight. Hi, Nick. I think you go by Nick, right? And Jonna, it's nice to see you from Pittsburgh. All right. So, why is it important for us to understand power in this concept of doing, being, and thinking? And why does this matter? Well, one of the reasons why power matters so much, and one of the reasons that we're actually bad at it as a gender, typically speaking, is because we're not taught it. We are not taught how to leverage our power. One of the things we hear and see a lot in, especially in corporate environments, is you see a lot of women making comments about their male co-workers on, oh, he brags all the time about his work, or oh, he's just interested in climbing up the corporate ladder. He's always angling for that stupid promotion. And we talk about it that way. We talk about it like it's this negative thing that they're doing, when they are actually using their power to try to elevate their careers, which is kind of what we all want to do. But we have been trained from the get-go that talking about ourselves, bragging about our accomplishments, openly angling for power and showing our ambition is not a good thing, right? We young ladies are not meant to be making loud noises and stepping out of the frame, right? There's a very specific way we are expected to behave, to act, to think, to be. When we start adding power and ambition into the mix, we start shaking that up a little bit. Hi, Zamira. It's nice to see you. But we start shaking up that expectation of who women are and what women are. And you would think in 2020 this would still not be an issue, but it is. A lot of us in the corporate environment still work in very male-dominated corporate environments, and so women with power are perceived differently. Part of our challenge is we don't know how to use all the tools at our fingertips. And that's what I want to talk about tonight, is how do we use power to our advantage? Because when we know how to use these 4 levers of power, we start to benefit in multiple ways. One being just in leadership. We are able now to step up and step into our leadership capabilities. We are able to get that promotion, get that raise, because through our leadership abilities, people can now see what it is we're capable of because we're putting ourselves out there. We're able to build teams. We're able to lead teams. People want to follow us. And we're able to get that positional authority. We're able to move up or move out, right? Whatever it is that we actually want to do when it comes to our career. So let's talk about the 4 types of power that are actually at your fingertips today. And like I said, when we're done with this conversation tonight, you can immediately make changes and shift things for the better. The first type of power is expertise. The second type of power are connections. The third is personal power. And the fourth is positional power. And I'm going to go through those so you understand exactly what I'm talking about with those. So first, with expertise, it's exactly what it sounds like. Expertise is typically the first power that we tap into, and as women, it's one of the ones that we're best at. Sorry, we're live. Now you can see that my dog is chasing my cat. So it's one of the ones that we're actually best at. Expertise is actually our knowledge. It is what we know. So if you're in a job and you're a marketer, you get really good at marketing. Maybe you get really good specifically at digital marketing. Maybe you're in sales and you get really good at having the sales conversation or closing the deal. If you're in operations, maybe you get really good at understanding how to implement processes that make things move smoothly. So expertise is exactly that. It's that silo of knowledge that we gather, that we learn, that helps get us to our job and usually up through a few levels. Now, the key with the expertise is that there's 2 things that happen with expertise. One is we can change it anytime we want to. You can be a marketing expert one day and then decide, I don't love this field anymore. I'm going to shift and I want to get into project management. And then you can go study project management and become really good at that. So expertise is part of our power that we can shift. We can adjust it to different fields as we go. The kicker with expertise, though, is that it can be very limiting if that's where we think our focus is to get us up the ladder. Expertise does not actually get us promotions. So when you think about it, for example, I have a client named Carol, and she wanted very much to get into upper level management. She was in mid-management level. She was really good at her job. She worked really hard at her job, and she put a lot of effort and energy into learning the different elements of her particular silo and her particular business. Well, what happens is as she was moving up the ladder, that expertise wasn't enough anymore. And here's what happens when we get buried in our expertise. So you could be the best project manager there is on the planet. That isn't going to get you to a senior promotion. That isn't going to get you to a senior management level. And part of that's because when you are so focused on your expertise, 2 things happen. One is you get really good at it. And when you get really good at it, other people look at you and go, oh, she's fantastic at that. We're going to keep having her do that. Which means you keep taking on extra work and other people's work because you're really good at it. And honestly, you're thinking, I can do this faster if I do it myself rather than letting them do it. The other thing that happens in the expertise category is that when other people see how great you are at your job, they don't want to lose you. they don't want you to not do that job anymore. So your boss is looking at you going, yeah, we have this promotion here, but if I lose her here, I lose all this great expertise. I don't want to lose that. So we're going to keep Carol here, and we're going to promote somebody else in this management level. So expertise is one area of our power where we can use it to get us only so far in our career path. It's important. We need to have some base of knowledge, but it's not going to get us to those senior levels of promotion that we're looking for. So keep your eye on your expertise balance, because that's where a lot of us get lost, is in we just keep thinking if I'm better at my job, they're going to recognize it, they're going to reward me. And that's not how it works. Because when you move into senior management, they're looking for more than just expertise in your particular skill set. Which leads us to your second power. So expertise is power one. Your second power is connections. Connections are what they sound like. Women are great at relationships, or at least at making relationships, at making connections. We are great at networking and connecting with other people. Why? Because we're kind of natural givers, and we like people, and we're always looking for who we can help, because if we can help people, we can please people. That sort of ingrained pattern in us is one of those other qualities that gets us only so far. So we have these fabulous networks, but our biggest challenge that keeps us stuck in this particular power grain is that we don't leverage our networks. This is where we start to think, oh, that's icky, or that feels, I don't want to ask somebody for a favor because I don't know them that well, and it feels kind of icky. They're just going to think I only like them, or I'm only friends with them because of what they can do for me, and I don't like that. We get all these hang-ups about leveraging our network. So I had another client, Melissa, who showed up one day and said, Jeff came to me today, and Jeff was a coworker of hers, and he wanted me to introduce him to these other people that I knew from my last job. She had been in this job like 6 months. Jeff had come to her. He was on sales. She was in project management, and he was in sales. And he said, hey, Melissa, I heard that you used to work at this other company and that you know some people there. Would you mind introducing me? Because this set of products I've got, I think they would love it. I think it would be great for them. And she was mad. She said, no, I'm not doing that. Jeff never talks to me. Like, he never makes conversation. He doesn't know anything about me. Why would I do that for him? That was really kind of rude of him just to come up and ask me for that favor. By saying no, Melissa first missed the point of the power of networking and connections, and she missed a huge opportunity. So think about this. By saying no, no connection is made between Jeff and her coworkers. Nothing happens. Nothing grows. Nothing develops. Had Melissa introduced Jeff to her coworkers, and her coworkers, say, liked the product Jeff was selling and maybe even bought the product, think about what happens there. Melissa's value in the eyes of her coworkers rises because she made a connection that was beneficial to them. This company that buys these products from Jeff benefits maybe from more efficiency, or they make more revenue because they have products that are working for them, so they're happy. Melissa's value to Jeff rises because she made a connection that worked out for him and he was able to sell. His own value rises because he's able to sell more of the company product, which means the company is doing well. Just by value of making simple connections, we can have an exponential effect on the goodness and well-being of a ton of people around us. And who knows what kind of ripple effect that has. Maybe Melissa's connections would introduce Jeff to other people who would want to buy his product, right? And then it starts to expand and grow. So what we need to learn to get good at is leveraging our connections and not making it so personal. Because the key is that research shows the most benefit that you get from your connections is not from your inner circle. It's not from the people who know you and love you best. It's not from the people who you worked with like at your last job immediately and they were your closest friends at work. The most benefit, and by benefit I mean the most either new jobs, job opportunities, other business opportunities, positive connections happens in our second and third tiers of connections. It's those people we don't know that well. It's the ones that, we were friendly and said hi in the hall, but maybe we didn't go out to lunch with regularly, if at all. But we knew kind of who they were and what they did. those are the connections that actually matter and help build out an even stronger base for our network and for our power. Now, I want you to think about the power of connections and how it connects to your first power of expertise, so that you don't get sunk in this power of expertise where you have to be the expert at everything and you have to do it all. You could leverage your connections to say, who else knows how to do this and who could help me? And by bringing in other people, you're expanding your network, you're expanding the visibility of the project you're working on, and you're expanding your influence. So those first two powers, expertise, you know what you know, knowing what you know makes you powerful, but only to a point. And then your connections. How wide and how far can you spread your influence? Your third power is personal power. Now, in the book, How Women Rise, which is by Sally Helgesen, and it's a very good book. I recommend everybody read it. But she talks about this particular power as being like personal authority and gravitas. And I would say, yes, that's definitely part of it. And there's a little extra when it comes to this. There's a little extra to that charisma and magnetism that's beyond kind of personal authority and gravitas. You know how it is when you've gone to a party and you walk into the room and you just kind of scan the room, and immediately there's someone there who immediately grabs your attention. And you're like, I got to know that person. That person hasn't said anything, hasn't done anything, probably hasn't even looked your way, but you are immediately drawn to them. That happens when we are living in our personal power and we're exuding that. So what do I mean by that, and why is this an effective part of power? So the second part of personal authority is what I call comfort. It's being comfortable with who you are. And a lot of you can look at that and go, no, Natalie, that's confidence. You got to have confidence, right? To walk into a room, to walk into a party, to say, hey, here I am, look at me, right? But if you notice that sometimes the people that you're drawn to, they're not the loudest, they're not the best looking, they're not the most dramatic and waving their arms. There's just something about them. And to me, that's comfort. That's one step further than confidence, because confidence is, yeah, I can do this. Yeah, I trust myself. I believe in myself. I can do these things. Comfort is, I can not only do these things, but I 100% accept that this is who I am and this is how I'm going to show up. I am 100% here and engaged, authentic and genuine with you. That's comfort when it's tied to our personal power. When we show up with comfort, then we're showing up with all of our strength, with all of our energy. And it's our energy that attracts people, right? It's that. Some people have a calming, soothing energy, and you kind of just want to be around them because they make you feel good, like everything's going to work out. Some people have like kind of a more tense or a high strung energy, but it's not negative. It's like exciting to be around. And that's why you want to be around them. Why does our energy matter and how we show up matter? Because those are the people we want to follow. We want to follow people whose energy we vibe with, who are so comfortable with themselves that they trust themselves, and so we trust them. Right? How we show up is exactly how we make other people feel. So if I show up all tense and nervous and, oh God, this is live, and my dog keeps jumping on the couch behind me, and I can't believe this, and I get all rattled, you guys are going to be a little bit uncomfortable, like, ooh, things are not happening so good back over there, right? But if I'm calm and relaxed, and guess what? The dog jumping around is just part of my life. Now it's part of your life too. For those of you who have been in drama, think about it this way, right? When we step on a stage, one of the first things we learn is that the audience wants us to do well. It is important to the audience that we succeed. That's one of the beauties of being on stage. Everybody wants you to do well. Everybody wants you to succeed. They want to clap at the end. That's how you show up as a leader. You have people around you who want you to succeed. They want you to lead because they want to follow you. Your personal power, so your personal authority and gravitas, and your personal authority can come from some of your expertise and what you know. It can come from some of your network and who you know, but it also comes from who are you? What kind of leader do you want to be? Own it. So if part of your gig is that you love Dungeons and Dragons and you're a dungeon master, own that. If part of your gig is you're a cat lady, own that. Be comfortable with it. Everything you bring to your personal power is a huge influence on who chooses to follow you and also where you choose to lead and how you choose to lead. So those were the first three, right? We talked about expertise, connections, and your personal power. The fourth one is positional power. Positional power is the one we have the least influence over. Positional power is literally where you fit inside a structure. So at work, it might be what's your title and your position inside a particular department. In your family, you might be the middle child or the first child or the only child, right? So depending on whatever organization you're thinking about, positional power is literally where you sit. We have the least amount of influence on positional power, but we have the least amount of control over positional power. We have tons of influence because our positional power, our ability to get promoted, to get the raise, to move to the next level, our ability to launch our own business or to shift careers altogether is very much tied to what is our expertise, who are our connections, and how do we show up? How do we lead? With those three elements, we can direct and influence what our positional power is going to be. So I'm hoping this all makes sense. Those are your four powers, your four kind of power levers. Those are what's available to you now, today, to think about how am I using my expertise? And is that expertise, is that power, can I make it stronger? Do I need to make it stronger? Is it a crutch? Is it keeping me stuck because I'm so focused on doing this, I'm not seeing the bigger picture of where I could go, and no one else is seeing that picture for me? How are you with your connections? When you look at your network on LinkedIn, I guarantee you all have at least a few hundred people. Very few people have under, 200 or 300 people. Many of you probably have thousands. There's no way you're personal friends and catching up with all those people every day. We can't do it. Not enough hours in the day. But that's an amazing network of people that you know, even in passing, who have a sense of who you are. You have a sense of who they are. Who could you be connecting? Who could you be connecting with? And which people in your network could you be connecting together to help expand your influence? And then your personal power. So think about how you show up. How much do you own your own leadership? This one impacts, they all impact, but this one in particular impacts not just your career. And does somebody see you as a leader because you're showing up as a leader? Is somebody jiving with your energy because you're bringing it all there? You're bringing it all to the mat? But it impacts your personal life too. We are leaders of our own personal lives, not just our career. So these things all go together. And with those three come your positional power. What is your position in your career path today? Is it where you want it to be? If it isn't, why not? Are there these other points of power that you should be looking at? Are there some levers you should be adjusting? What new habits could you be putting in place that would help you take better advantage of your expertise or your connections or your personal power or your positional power? So as you're thinking about all of that, identify where you're giving up your power, identify some new habits that might help you. And if you'd like to go deeper into this thought of power and where you're at, I would like to invite you to join me Thursday night, so the night after tomorrow, Thursday night the 29th at 7 o'clock. I'm hosting a masterclass. It's a free masterclass on accelerate your path to promotion without sacrificing work-life balance, because that's kind of the most important part, is we still need to have a life. So it's accelerate your path to promotion without sacrificing work-life balance. It's Thursday night at 7 o'clock. If you'd like to join and you don't have the link, just drop the word lead in the chat below this video and I will make sure you get the information you need to sign up. But in this masterclass, we're going to go over the Lotus framework. And the Lotus framework is based on these 4 power levers. But Lotus itself stands for lead, own, trust, understand, and shift. Those are the 5 power moves based on our 4 power levers that we're going to talk about Thursday night, and how that's going to help you accelerate your career, get you to that next step and that next level where you want to go. So just drop, thank you, Zamira. I know it's late for you. I appreciate you joining. So drop the word lead in the comments below, and I'd be happy to share with you the information to get involved, to come attend the masterclass. Like I said, it's free. Thursday, October 29th, 7 o'clock Eastern time, which makes it 4 o'clock Pacific, 6 o'clock Central. So I hope this conversation about power was helpful. I'd love to hear your comments and feedback, and see what you think of that helps you. In the meantime, drop lead in the comments, and I hope to see you Thursday night. Have a good night, everybody.